yeah. Well, I feel the same about music. It's the same thing. You end up spending so much time trying to get stuff out to people,
Yeah.
and it's still the big barrier. Really, is the PR, the promotion and stuff like that.
Yeah. How do you promote your music then? If it's like, all these barriers you have.
Well, we do it on social media, and we tried with the album. We went and did. I think it was called Blacklist. I think they're called, and did some promo with some people that do it professionally, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was pretty good. Like in the end, when we did the little tour, the numbers of people that came out to the gigs were good. We made money at every gig.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell, man. Like
Yeah.
you get a lot of numbers from these like social media sites, but you don't really get a real insight into the people that are listening to you until
Yeah.
you meet some of them. And
Yeah.
very occasionally you do. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Because you can spend a lot of money on it if you don't know what you're doing, or it's tricky getting an audience as well. Like building your audience up
Yeah.
is the hard part.
Yeah, and in today's day and age on social media, you have to compete with everyone else, and everyone's on it for like 13 hours,
Yeah.
15 hours,
Yeah,
and you have to constantly produce videos and edits and,
yeah.
like your live show videos and your studio recordings. It's just constant recording.
Yeah.
It's a lot of files.
Yeah, heaps of files, and just getting the content, like having new photos or new video, whether it's a song or not, just having something new that you can post up, because
Yeah.
it always gets more response than old stuff, and so that's a bit of a mission for us to get that stuff happening. But every time we do something, we did that video shoot at Marky's a few weeks ago, so we got heaps of B-roll
Yeah.
and heaps of photos that we
Yeah.
can use, which is good. Yeah. The more is good, because you can sift through it and pick out the best stuff. And yeah, it's a tricky one, I
Yeah.
reckon. You do almost need a full-time PR person, social media person.
You do, and it has to add up in terms of business-wise, economics
Yeah, yeah,
has to add
yeah.
up.
And it's hard to turn just exposure, like just numbers. It's hard to turn that into dollars.
It is. I find that with podcasting, it costs you like $5 to get a follower,
Yeah,
or it costs you $2 to get one listen,
yeah,
and you can spend, so if you want 1,000 listens, you're spending $2,000,
Yeah.
and you're getting $16 back.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's the music industry too right now.
Yeah. So that doesn't, how do you make this work? So you have to actually go out and get sponsors, and
Yeah.
and you're going to charge them huge big amounts of money or licensing deals,
Yeah.
and then whatever you make with streaming and followers, that's like cherry on the top.
Yeah.
But your main revenue is coming from these sponsors.
It's got to be something, eh? Like we do it. We all have day jobs. That's how we manage it, so that
Exactly,
we
yeah.
can pay the bills that way.
Yeah. So you're excited for summer?
Yeah, very much. I think it's going to be a great summer, mate. 2026, pick up sticks. I think this year's been a bit of a shitter for a lot of people, eh? So
Yeah.
but good gigs coming in through December and January, so we'll be busy, which is what we want to do. Because if you don't play, you just stagnate. You can't stay good. It's like exercising a muscle, I guess.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the better it is.
Yeah. Do you have your set ready for the summer? Do you pick a set, or is it more
Yeah.
casual? How do you approach
it's,
it?
it's pretty casual with the slacks, but like we do
Makes
have
sense.
we have arguments over the set list, right? And
Yeah.
and so they will change at a moment's notice. But also Zane lives in Auckland, and so it's really hard to rehearse new material without him. You can do personal practice and you can get your chops up, but you still need to perform and practice as a band to get everything to gel.
Yeah.
And back in the day, we used to gig a lot, and so that was kind of the practice as well. When you're gigging 4 nights a week, you
Yeah.
get tight, but we're not doing that at the moment. So trying to do one practice a week, but that's still without Zane. So, it's only gets so far. So we fall back on the old set lists a wee bit,
Yeah.
which is, we've got new music, so it's nice to be able to put that in if we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you play much of the Information Ape tracks in your sets?
Yeah, we do a few. We probably have started playing more of that recently. It was good. Saturday night we played at Asgard. They had 50 years or half a century of chaos, and one of the guys that runs the place had his 50th.
Yeah.
So there were 7 bands on the lineup, and most of them were punk and hard rock and metal
Yeah.
and the slacks. And so we were a little bit, just a bit outside our comfort zone. So we rejigged the set list and did our like rockier, harder songs, and that was really good because we hadn't played some of those for a while.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
play these new tracks and like, whoa, that feels different.
Yeah, it's just nice to do that for ourselves because, you get a little bit tired of playing the same stuff over and over. But it's
Yeah.
always fun. We always have a good time.
Yeah. And are you touring around the nation or?
No, not at the moment. We've got a new single which we want to get finished off properly and get the video all done and then have that ready to go so we can do proper promotion. Because I think with music now, that's where your promotion, you used to be you'd put out a song and that would make you money, but now it's just like your poster. And so when you've got good content, it just becomes the reason to promote the tour and then hopefully get people to come to the gigs because that's where the money is with music now is live performance,
Yeah. Who are you excited to see this summer? Other musicians, like who's playing? What are the big gigs that you?
I'm quite keen to go see Pulp. They're coming to Auckland,
Yeah.
I think in April or something next year,
Yeah.
and I like those guys, so I'd
they'd be
probably
good.
go see them.
Yeah.
But don't get to a lot of big concerts. There's heaps of music down here, and like lots of local bands, so that's enough for me really most of the time.
Yeah.
Just-
What other local bands you kind of follow?
Trip Change is a great band. Really pop rock sensibilities and great songs. And I think they're playing at Goldie on Friday at Unplugged. It's quite a small little cafe, and so a lot of musicians that are in there they haven't got their full blown kit, so it's a little bit stripped back, and I quite like that too. And there's like Monsweiler, Courtney and the Unholy Reverie. And then I quite like a couple of the covers bands that are floating around town as well. Dude, Where's My Guitar plays 90s bangers. And so they're good because I'm used to everybody playing 60s and 70s stuff.
Yeah.
And these guys have just busted out like late 90s, early 2000 pop rock, and it's great. Songs,
Yeah.
and they're good.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like there's a lot of bands out here. I mean, I don't go out there and explore too much of them. I'd go to the park, you know, when it's summer, sort of Christmas time, and I'll listen to some bands, and that's cool. But I've kind of quit on that nightlife for a while.
Yeah.
Gets a little bit, too old.
Yeah, I feel like that as well when you see some of the young ones out, and it's like, oh yeah, it's time to go home for my Ovaltine, eh? But there's a lot of bands and a lot of musicians down here, and we're starting to get back into having a couple of good venues. Like Asgard's really good because they're 100% dedicated to music, and they're a society, and everyone that works there is a volunteer. So it's like doing it for the love of it, and it's a great setup. It's a great space. It's at the old 8 Ball. They took away all the pool tables, and so it's just music.
Oh, really?
They cleaned the place
They
up.
don't do the pools anymore?
No pool tables there anymore.
Oh, man.
So it is. I know because
It used to be a good hustle.
I quite like that. Because you could play pool or you could watch music or both.
Yeah.
But having said that, now it's 100% music. It's dedicated to music, and they do all sorts from.
Interesting.
They do underage gigs where they close the bar, and so they can have the young ones in there. And we played on Saturday night. One of the bands was a high school band, and they were really good actually.
Wow.
So they do the whole range, and of course they hit the metal market, and that's probably your best bet because those metal fans come out, man. They go to the shows, and that's what you want when you're a venue.
Is metal still around and people listen to metal
Oh,
music?
hardcore. Like
Really?
I think that's I think it's still a solid core of New Zealand live music,
Wow.
Kiwis are like that, I think. I don't know why, but it must be our Bogan roots.
Yeah, it must be. They're all in West Auckland for sure.
Yeah. So Taranaki's a little bit like a West Auckland, I think.
Oh, yeah. It is. Yeah, I never knew. I mean, I don't come across any metal music.
No, I think like a lot of the genres and stuff like that, you got to be in the circles, but they have something there just about every week at Asgard that'll be, Infinity Ritual and a lot of those sorts of bands that are quite heavy.
I did see something about Metallica playing in Auckland. Was it?
Yeah, that was just recently, eh? That was just
it was.
last week, last
And I was
Tuesday
like,
or
what?
something.
Metallica? Are they still around?
Well, those guys be a massive tour. Like there'd be a huge road show, and I think that'd be pretty amazing to see. But I think they were on a Tuesday night, and it's like that's a bit weird to me. Like I wouldn't travel up to Auckland and go to a gig on a Tuesday night. I got work and stuff.
I mean, that was kind of like the thing on TV when I was, a teenager, like Linkin Park and Evanescence and those guys,
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of them are still going.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you see
Backstreet Boys was actually doing something in the Sphere in Vegas. And I was like, what? This is insane. And they're sold out.
Yeah.
Like People go watch Backstreet Boys.
But I think that's it. They've got a built-in audience from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so when they do those reunions, people go and see them because they don't play a lot.
And
But,
the music is so good. My son listens to Backstreet Boys, and he's 8, and he loves the music.
Yeah.
Right, but he doesn't have the context that this is
Yeah.
something we grew up with, like Eminem and those
Yeah, yeah.
guys. They're just that was such nice music at that time, and it's sort of still around.
Yeah.
Young people get into it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's it. And I think because there's still a lot of bands that were huge in the 90s and early 2000s, and then they've dropped off the public radar, but they're still touring and they still sell out stadiums, but you don't hear about it. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I think they've just got they've already got their audience. They've got their, big audience. And so they're able to rely on that without having to do too much extra promo to try and get new people along.
Yeah, I mean, when Ozzy Osbourne died, it was such a huge ripple
Yeah.
in the whole world, and I didn't realize how big he was.
Yeah.
The entire world stopped. When he died,
Yeah.
it was a couple of months ago, I think.
Yeah. That's right.
But it's interesting. Like one of the things I've seen is vinyl coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's kids versions now. It comes with Bluetooth if kids want to use it with Bluetooth and
Yeah.
Spotify. But it's coming back, and people are kind of getting back into that, the physical touch and
it's
the
the
retro.
experience, of having a record collection, and you get the album cover art and album liners and all of that kind of thing, and it's a nice way to listen to music when everything's just like press a button and you can kind of get anything.
Yeah,
It's kind of nice to have your collection, especially with albums.
yeah,
Like you say.
Yeah, I've noticed my son will skip a song before the song finishes.
Yeah.
So I always tell him off. It's like let the song, just listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So with vinyl, you just let it flow.
Let it run.
Just let it run.
I remember that starting with CDs when you could all of a sudden skip through.
Yeah.
Skip through. You didn't have to fast forward the tape or try and
Yeah.
drop the needle on the right groove.
Yeah, and then it sort of ended up with this whole playlists and
Yeah.
best this, best that, and everyone just wants the hits
Yeah.
instead of like listening to an album.
Yeah. Well, playlists have
You know.
kind of taken the place of albums. I still, if I'm on Spotify, I'm not really at the moment. Every now and then I'll get it for a month just because there's stuff I want to listen to and it's an easy way to access. But I'll still listen to albums if they're on there.
I don't listen to any playlists.
Yeah.
I have no playlists.
Yeah.
I only listen to albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I make my own ones. If I'm on it, I'll make my own ones just because it's a list of all the songs that I want to hear rather than have Spotify suggest albums or playlists to me. But it's I'm back to CDs. I got a CD player in my car, and so
really?
I find that really really good. We were down at Wanganui at the Musicians Club a couple of months ago, and we went to the markets down there by the riverside on the Saturday morning, and there's a guy selling CDs, and they're all UK imports, so they're all brand new. It's not like secondhand ones, and he just had a massive Beatles collection. So I spent all the money that I got from the gig that night before on Beatles albums, which I've just been spinning endlessly in the car.
That's
they're great.
amazing.
Yeah, so
That
good.
is so
and they're
cool.
brilliant albums, White Album and
Yeah.
Revolver.
Yeah, they are. Wow. Yeah,
so
CDs.
I do enjoy finding albums still.
Yeah, I think on Spotify there's a feature where you can, look at the latest tracks, and in that latest drops you can find albums.
Yeah.
And then I will go and listen to them. Arctic Monkeys album, I think they did. Was it Hotel and Casino or something?
Yeah.
That was just like, wow, what are you guys doing? 'Cause
Yeah.
I thought you guys were rock.
Well, I think they got a hard time about it, from their core fans because it was different from everything that had come before. But they're a great band.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that album yet.
Yeah. The cool thing, I think they explained it, and they were saying, well, the way musicians work, if they pick up the guitar and then, the album is like led by the sound of the guitar, and that influences everything. So we thought, well, why don't we start with the keyboard, the piano?
Right.
And then all of a sudden you have this like very different sound.
Yeah, you would, eh?
Yeah.
I love piano. Like I can't play it, but it's definitely you did right, because if you did guitar-based stuff or versus piano, you'd get totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different vibes.
Yeah. Gorilla's doing a new album. I think it's coming out in March.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
And because Blurred did one last year or the year before as well, eh? And
Yeah.
so a lot of those bands Pulp's just done a new one. That's why they're touring again.
Yeah.
But I really love their early stuff. from back in the day, and I'm sure that I haven't heard the new one yet. But if I go to the show, I think I have to get the album and give it a good listen.
Yeah.
You know? But it's
Yeah.
those good bands usually deliver.
Yeah.
Usually, you know.
Do you watch Tiny Desk on YouTube?
I've seen a couple, but yeah, it's like, I don't know, that's not really how I consume music. Although
Yeah.
Blake sent me a Tiny Desk of Pulp the other day.
Yeah.
Where he was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was pretty good.
It's just a cool way for fans to kind of, you know, get exposure to bands and
Yeah.
and feel them in a different way. You know?
Yeah, well, it's probably one of the best things about the internet is that instead of just getting the album and just getting whatever's been put out by the record company,
Yeah.
you get these little insights into the band because it's not a normal setup, right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like it's a setup in an office, and the bands go and play. It's actually a real office, but they have like a film set, and then they have all the devices or stuff that you can bring yourself, set up and play. And it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the TED Talk of music,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And then all the best bands and singers go on there, and it's fun. I really enjoy it. It's one of those things that I can have a joint,
Yeah.
and just watch that, and whoever's the latest, and you discover new artists as well. I discovered the Pink Panthers. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
She's like a young girl from the UK. It's kind of like Spice Girl vibes,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like Olivia Dean.
Oh,
It's kind of
okay.
young kids coming through. It's just like, man, this is really nice music.
Yeah, it's
And
a nice way to discover new stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And be surprised by it. Because I'm a little bit stuck in my ways. I think I'll fall back
Sure,
on the
yeah.
same 7 albums that I
Yeah.
always listen to.
Yeah.
And every now and then pick something new up because someone I know is listening to it. And then,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'd always fall back to Kanye West. It's like I'd always go back to his albums. I think
Yeah,
there's
well-
something about his music that really...
Marky's a recent convert. I've never really listened to much of his music, but
Yeah.
Marky, I think, delved into it a little bit, and he's like, it's different from what I thought he was going to
Yeah. I mean, if you want to start with Donda. I don't know if you know his albums, but
No.
Donda, I think, is probably his most
be. Right.
tuned album.
Okay.
He's done a lot of different things. Sometimes he'll do rough stuff. Sometimes he'll do gospel stuff.
Yeah.
In the early days, he was doing very pop,
Right.
mainstream stuff, which you always hear about, and they come up in movies.
Yeah.
Right, his famous hits. But Donda was his mother name of his
Okay.
mother. So it's deep, and
Yeah.
it's very well written.
Yeah, so I assume he's a little bit like Neil Young was, where he was changing from
Yeah.
album to album. He'd do different things,
Yeah,
and which I quite like as well. And that's,
yeah,
I think it's a little bit risky as an artist, because if you've got a big fan base and then you just take a left turn and do
Yeah.
something completely different, you probably pick up a lot of new fans, but you may lose
Yeah.
some old ones.
yeah. When you're in the top 8 artists on Spotify,
Yeah,
you can just do that stuff because
Yeah.
you have that bandwidth to be, and you're durable. Even if you push something that fans don't like, you can always
yeah,
come back to whatever you want to do.
yeah, and they'll always be there for those original albums that they
Yeah.
fell in love with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to have 100 million followers.
Yeah, I think he's just a genius when
Yeah.
it comes to music and lyrics, and it's just a very different level. You have singers like Frank Ocean. They're very good with lyrics and things like that. But in the whole, and Eminem and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, but he's just different.
Yeah.
He is very, very special, very, very unique
Yeah,
in the
I
way
might
he
have
does
to check
music.
that out. And Panda Bear.
Panda Bear.
Yeah, yeah. might have to
Yeah,
listen to that.
he's the guy on the Daft Punk album, "Doing It Right" is the track he does. I feel like Panda Bear is very similar or different to the Slacks.
Oh yeah.
I
yeah.
just get that vibe.
Well, that song that was on before sounded like the Beatles. Very
Yeah.
Beatlesque to me.
Yeah, that was the Sinister Grift album.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, because it was quite melodic. Like there was melody
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
And so what I love about the old stuff is that they can
I'll
be
get you
quite-
some CDs.
Yeah, yeah.
You can play it in the
yeah,
car.
yeah, fantastic. That'd be good. That's where I do most of my listening these days. Would
Yeah.
you
You
know,
driving a lot too much?
not a lot, but just to and from work, and any time I'm in the car, just
Play the
I'll run
CDs.
through the radio stations and I'll hear the same 6 songs, on the 6 radio stations, and then
Yeah,
in goes a CD.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that I've heard before, I guess.
yeah.
I'm a bit like that. I like the stuff that I know.
Yeah.
but still hearing things that you hadn't heard the first time round. You know, Obla D, because I
Yeah.
got the White album. I love that album, and
Yeah.
there's for the first time I've listened to that song so many times, but for the first time heard a counter melody on trumpet in the chorus, and that I'd never heard before, and
Yeah.
so that was like, oh, that's cool. So I've been listening to that a bit more.
Mm.
So I like it when you get remastered albums and you pick up things
Yeah.
that you didn't hear in
Yeah.
previous recordings.
Tell me about your new single.
It's called Over Morrow, and it's one of Marquis' songs.
Yeah.
So, and the concept of over morrow is that like we'll get over this, you know, tomorrow, and
Yeah.
and it's very much I think it's really about you know, there's so much coming at you these days constantly from the media and all the different forms of media, and it's hard to ignore some of that stuff, you know, like things get on top of you, or
Yeah.
concepts seem really serious, or that seems like there's quite a bit of shit going down.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that like we're going to get past it, you know, we'll be in a place that's really good for everybody. So that's the concept of the song.
Yeah.
And then early on, we were all like, man, this kind of sounds a little bit like an Oasis song. So then deliberately went towards trying to make it sound like an Oasis song. So the guitar sounds and some of
Yeah.
the lyrics are very Oasis. And then we filmed a video for it at Marky's, the Human Cave. It was actually the best it's looked for a long time because we cleaned it all out. We took all the furniture out, so it was just an empty room with all the stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
And got a crew around and just did multiple takes, and Andy Jackson's cutting it together for us. And so once we get that, we've got to get the song mastered, but once we master the song and get the video finally edited, then we'll look at doing some kind of tour maybe at the end of summer next year. So March, April, if we can get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, be
That sounds
cool.
exciting.
Yeah, so it's fun and it's quite guitar rocky, you know. And
Did you record it with Sam Johnson in his studio?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So we mostly do that. If we've got something, we'll go see Sammy because we get on with him really well, and
Yeah,
he's got
he's
a lot of great gear, and he knows his
Yeah.
stuff, and he's just easy to work with.
Yeah.
And we have an attitude in the studio of we'll come with most of the song in place, but there's always space to try. Oh, let's try this synthesizer, or let's try this guitar, or let's have a go at that and see what happens. And
Yeah.
which is a nice thing to do as well, rather than just have everything already pinned down and just go through the motions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you do that, you get something happen that you didn't write, you know, like you couldn't think of it at the time, or you didn't think of it at the time, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, that really suits the song.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of impromptu, which I think helps keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been really good. And then, of course, for me, when I'm songwriting, like I wait for inspiration most of the time. I won't often sit down with the idea I'm going to write a song now, unless I've already had an idea hit me. But the only time that doesn't happen is if Mark's written a song, I'm like, okay, I've got to do one now. So he did an Oasis one, so I've written one that I've tried to make sound like Blur.
Yeah.
Since those two guys had the little head-to-head back in the 90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was often just record companies and PR building it up to sell
Yeah,
singles, you know?
It's such an interesting time in the way you talk about your new single and the concept behind it, because people are really pushing hard to make the world feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, they're always coming up with like the Ukraine war and the Russia this and the this that and the world's gonna end, the Epstein files, and it's almost it feels like they're doing it now to just distract you and suck you into this. And the more you get yourself involved in this and you know hype yourself up about it, the more disappointed you get because it's so off from what the reality is.
Yeah, that's right.
And eventually you're like, well, okay, that's a new thing. I'm just gonna skip over it,
Yeah.
move on, and just go do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think in the information age, which is a real misnomer because I don't think it's information anymore. I think it's all one big sales pitch, you know?
Yeah.
And so the information is now the sales pitch.
Mm.
And if you are
Yes.
engaging on social media, then whichever platform or whoever's page you're engaging with is winning because they're getting views and they're getting followers and likes.
Yeah.
And so you start to get the feeling that it's not about informing people, it's about how can I grab people's attention and how can I get a response from them.
Yeah.
And so I think it tends to make things a bit more extreme.
Yeah.
because they're trying to polarize people to see if, and so if you're angry about it, you'll engage. And if you totally agree with it, you'll engage.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of middle ground.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to communicate with people online and try and have middle ground
Yeah.
because people just won't have it. You know,
Yeah.
you either agree with them or you don't. And
Yeah.
I remember reading about John Lennon back in the day when he was obviously hugely famous. And so a lot of the political activists were trying to get him on board for their side, you know, and for a long, long time, he just wouldn't take sides because he sort of thought, well, that's rubbish, really. You know, like everyone's got a valid point. You
Yeah.
have to meet in the middle somehow.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end, he kind of did. I think he was touring deliberately to, like, at the same time Nixon was, I think it was Nixon, one of the presidents was doing speeches and rallies, and so Lennon would do a gig on the same day at the same time, you know, as like
Yeah.
a little, you know, to you kind of thing. And so like it's hard because, yeah, if you take sides or you take a stance, it's really easy then to just fall into that category and not think beyond,
Yeah.
you know, think differently about it.
Yeah, you have to be nuanced in how you look at things. You know, you can like something about someone, you can dislike something about someone. And yes, you're right. It's very easy to kind of fall into a label and then start canceling everyone else
Yeah.
and just listen to this. The amount of people that block me on Twitter is just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, from Helen Clark to, you know, everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry. So what did I do to get blocked?
But
You
yeah,
know?
I get I get what you're saying.
I'd
but
love to know the reason why someone blocked me.
Well, it's probably no more than the fact that they just don't want to hear an alternative point of view, right?
Yeah,
and
whatever
so
it is.
they block that stuff out because I've always said people usually go on the internet to look at their own ass because they're not really
That's true.
interested in finding out new stuff
Yeah.
or a different perspective. They just want to be reinforced with what they already think. you know?
Yeah.
And that's a trap in itself because then
Yeah.
you start to only engage with that content and then you start to get the idea that the whole world is like that, you know, because you're in your bubble.
Yeah. And some people are so effective in communicating that way and holding your whole attention. You know, it's this whole thing you're explaining has given birth to the gatekeepers,
Yeah.
right? These guys are not out there to create information and give the truth. They are the gatekeepers. They've become so influential and they have huge following. So they are just the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And they want to hold their truth and they want to hold their audience. So the moment they feel their audience is slipping away to someone else, then all of a sudden, you know, they'll start the infighting. You see it with the conservative politics in the US.
Yeah.
Now you have a huge split. Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and some other guys sit over here, and everybody else sits over here, and they're fighting over Israel. They're fighting over this. They're fighting over that. They're fighting over foreign influence. It's like, well, what is this?
Yeah.
I want information. I don't want to watch you
Yeah.
guys go at each other. I mean, if I did, I would go pay and watch a boxing fight or something.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
You know?
And I think, like, to a lesser extent, New Zealand politics is like that, where people aren't open to ideas from different political parties. Once they've decided I'm voting red or I'm voting blue,
Yeah.
it's very hard to budge people away from
Yeah.
it, you know? And so then they just start.
Yeah, I'm so over it. I was like, last elections, I was like, everybody come on my show and I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'm voting for this guy, I'm doing that. And now I'm like, I'm not voting at all.
Yeah.
I'm out. You
Yeah.
know?
'Cause
Because
it
it's so like I think we should have just less government and
Yeah.
have less of politics and give them less airtime.
Yeah,
and just stay out of
I
it.
think
you know?
that it's time for a real change because I think that party politics just leads down that road, you know, and
Yeah.
I think we just need to get really experienced and knowledgeable people into the right roles rather than career bureaucrats,
Yeah.
you know, and people that know what they're doing. But I guess it's a pretty complicated process, you know.
It is. It's super complicated, and you know, one way you can do it is you can break down the power from just, you know, let's say Parliament has 100% sovereign power. You have a Senate.
Yeah.
You give the regions statehood,
Yeah.
so they become sovereign themselves and they can look after themselves better. You know, instead of everything going into central. You know.
Which sounds like they're trying to do, they're talking about dismantling the regional councils.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know, that's not a good thing for like local New Zealanders, I don't think.
Okay.
Because like you say, you don't want it to be all centralized because that's too much power in one spot, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, look, I don't really know how the regional councils run, but if they're not running efficiently or well, or, you know, then I guess that something needs to be done.
Yeah, you always have these cycles where centralization works better than decentralization works better.
Yeah.
You know, and councils are a very interesting breed of people. I don't get along with them. I had a very hard time with the New Plymouth Council, and they screwed me over on a business deal, and we're still like trying to take them to court type thing, you know.
Okay.
And that's a story for another day. But through my experiences, I can tell the incompetencies, the politics, the dirty games they play, how they screw over other people. They do all of that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So when you see them being abolished, you're like, yes, good. Where's the bottle of champagne? I'm going to celebrate this because you motherfuckers, you know.
And I think there's a lot of people disgruntled with local councils because they feel like they're spending money willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And rates just keep going up.
Yeah.
And then a lot
very
of
irresponsible.
Well, and things just, every time they do a project, it blows out by twice the original budget, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where's the accountability and the competence? But
yeah,
you know,
and
that's
they're
what it
cutting
seems
all
like.
the fun stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
They're doing less of this,
Yeah.
less of that, less of concerts, less of
and rates keep going up.
yeah.
you know, and
it's
I
crazy.
think people are getting frustrated with that because you do feel like you pay your taxes and you pay your rates, and that's as far as your input goes. You know, I mean, I know they do surveys and things like that, but I don't know if anything ever comes out of that.
Yeah.
I think the most effective thing is when neighbourhoods get together to block buildings, and everyone on the block, you know, is anti like a big high-rise building right in front of their sea view.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've ever really seen democracy actually in effect, you know, and getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the taxes we pay in New Zealand is ridiculous.
It's insane, right? I think so.
This whole socialist kind of structure just doesn't add up. Now, National wants to do this. Oh, we'll pay you more in your KiwiSaver account. It's like, well, where are you getting that money from?
Yeah.
You're stealing it from somebody else who's hardworking, taking risk, building businesses. So you want him to pay more into this one's account, pocket, and you're over there celebrating that you are the winner and you're doing great things for New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
But I mean, that all comes from them dismantling superannuation like back in the 90s or 2000s, right? And then KiwiSaver came in to sort of cater for that, because I remember at high school we were getting told New Zealand has a greying population, and by 2030 the majority of people in New Zealand are going to be 65 plus.
Wow.
And the only thing that seems to have changed is that there's more rest homes. You know, they haven't haven't seemed to build any kind of preventative anything into that.
That's crazy.
You know, and so of course they're worried, because if people aren't saving and there's no superannuation schemes, like what are people going to do for money when they're retired?
I don't think anyone's saving right now.
No, you can't, right? Like
it's crazy.
Like everything's going up. Yeah, I've been like just recently through a separation, and so I've gone through the last sort of 7 years of my financial accounts and just watching the rates increases and the amount that power's gone up.
Yeah.
You know, in just that short a time, like my power bills have doubled easily in that time.
And a lot of the reasons why these things happen is they sell you bullshits like climate change. I'm not saying climate change is not real, but they sell you bullshit in a way that they inflate a problem and then they fuck everything else over, like banning oil and gas with no reserves and then going and importing coal from Indonesia. It's like, well, but how does that help you? You know, and then you're paying more because of their fuck ups.
Yeah, and it's a weird hypocrisy. So it's like the zero waste Taranaki by 2050. Well, they just truck our rubbish down to Martin and dump it in the ground. So like, oh, we're good here. We've got no rubbish.
Yeah, somebody else has got the rubbish.
The neighbour's backyard, you know. So like that kind of thing to me is just like, that's rubbish.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's PR. It's a PR scam.
It is.
You know?
It is. Yeah.
So you see a lot of that, I think, these days.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah. And I think people are catching up on it now. Yeah. And people, you know, like people don't want to listen to this whole bullshit about climate change.
Yeah. Well, it's the positive flip side of the information age. Like we must be 2 or 3 generations deep in television culture, right? So people are aware of how PR works, and they can tell when they're getting spun a line. You know? And so people just switch off from that because why would you listen?
Yeah.
You know?
And, Luxon wants to send $26 billion to the Paris Agreement.
Really?
Yep, 26 billion. And he thinks that's going to be a great return. It sounds more dodgy than investing into getting your downloads increased on Spotify. You know?
Well, and I think a lot of these politicians these days, they're not really working for the country. They're
for their own
vested interests that they're representing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Jacinda, it's she sold us this whole concept of kindness, and in the end of it, a lot of people lost a lot of things, businesses, marriages, their savings, and she's walking around charging $200,000 a speaking gig about how to lead with kindness. And she's got book deals with millions in advance, and she's got a $30 million net worth. It's like,
yeah. Well,
what the fuck?
It seems to me like,
here?
I wouldn't be surprised if Luxon actually quits and goes on to a banking job, because that seems to be
that's coming.
Prime Minister in New Zealand seems to be a career stepping stone.
Yeah. What the fuck is that all about?
I think those guys are just the mouthpiece. They're just the people that front up to the camera.
They're just agents of the matrix.
Yeah, and I think like if people understand that political parties have a board and a CEO, they're the ones probably making most of the decisions.
Yeah.
And the people you see on TV, their job is just to front up and take the shit. And that's
the only guy that has been around consistently for 50 years is Winston Peters.
Yeah, But he's a chameleon. He'll just jump ship. And I think that's
It'd
what
be
politics
funny if he
is.
goes with Labour next year.
Yeah,
it'd be very funny. Do you think he's gonna do it?
I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past him. I don't really follow New Zealand politics that closely because for me it's like, it's just a game of tennis backwards and forwards, and then they're just shouting at each other, oh, these guys ruined it. They did this and ruined things.
The whole blame culture is quite embarrassing to watch for adults to constantly blame someone else.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? You're 50 years old.
Yeah. Well,
Stop it.
And also, there should be this thing where it's like, okay, well, this has worked and it's been successful. We're going to continue it, even though we're a different political party. It makes sense for the country to keep investing in this.
Yeah.
And so that there's some consistency instead of chopping and changing every 4 years or every 8 years or whenever it is, I think that's a problem here, because everyone just seems to get into power and dismantle the previous government's work, and we're going to do this now. And then a lot of the business deals that governments do don't work out.
Yeah, it's very hard to look through the information and try and figure out what's good to keep, what's not good to keep, all the good things that they have done,
Yeah.
What are the bad things that they have done? It's very hard to get your head around with all that information.
Well, I guess because there's arguments for both sides, like I think selling off the assets is just a New Zealand thing that I don't think is a good thing to do, but they seem to be short-term fixes rather than looking further down the track, So infrastructure and things like rail, and we should have been working on to build up and to keep working, but we don't really do that much production in New Zealand anymore other than forestry and farming, and that's all foreign interest now anyway.
Yeah, and we haven't really made the most of our natural resources as well. So a lot of countries like Norway, they have a sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah.
And they extract as much as of the natural resources as available. They put it in this wealth fund. Abu Dhabi has one. And they reinvest that into lots of different things. They diversify.
Yeah.
And then that kind of covers a lot of the revenue you need as a government. And so you reduce income tax.
Yeah.
And you fund all the other things you want to fund without putting a lot of pressure on the productivity of the people.
Yeah.
So if your revenue is just the people's productivity and the energy they burn from the food that they put in their system, so you're forever a slave to this dangling thing, because you're always like, oh, we'll take some money from the landlords because they have all these rental properties.
Yeah.
And we'll give you 3 free GP visits. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do not go to your GP for general health advice. Listen to Joe Rogan. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
If you've got cancer or something, or you've broken an arm, you go see your GP,
Yeah.
You don't need 3 visits a year.
No, that's right.
You don't, you can get good information on podcasts about your general health. So a lot of these ideas are very dumb ideas, very, very dumb ideas. And the reason I also talk a lot about, Taranaki being its own sovereign state region, because a lot of our natural resources go out and run the country, but none of that money comes back in the region.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're getting screwed over here. You
Yeah.
know, what the fuck's going on?
But I think that's the Kiwi way. You know, like we could be utilising, instead of having foreign companies come in and utilise our resources for peanuts, to be honest, the return to us is not that great.
The mining returns like 2%.
Yeah.
And they are getting a lot more than us.
Totally.
It's like,
So-
but they're creating jobs. Like, but that's not how this should be set up.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you look at China, the reason China has become this huge giant, they would say in the 1990s, they would say to GM, you want to come in and build a factory and make cars and sell cars to the Chinese market? Great, you do that, but you'll only own 49%.
Yeah.
You got to hire this many Chinese people, and you got to leave in 20 years because we'll take over and we'll build our own cars.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the resources and we'll do it ourselves. We'll keep the profits.
Yeah.
Which
makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
But we don't seem to do that here. We just,
Yeah, whatever is the standard, pitch, and we'll do this fast track thing. You come and grab, and that kind of drives the short-term goals, and we can see the numbers, unemployment shifting and this going up, that going up, and then we'll win for another 3 years, and then I'm out and I'll go work for BlackRock.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all just there. It's just written.
Yeah. Pretty much, I think. Like there,
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a visionary leader in my lifetime. Someone that's got a really clear idea about what they think is good for New Zealand, and then pushing it and making it happen. It just seems, like I say, it's a game of tennis, backwards and forwards. And
we've lost a lot of leadership with strength type people. That's why Trump seems to be very effective, and he does it really well. As much as you can disagree with him, he doesn't care about what the media thinks about him. He doesn't care about what other people think about him. He doesn't care what the other leaders think about him. He trolls and dunks on them.
Yeah.
And and he wants to get stuff done, There's a lot of stuff that I disagree that he's doing. But the problem with, like when you're dealing with politics, which is the, art of science of, dealing with a group of people in the best possible way possible, is progress is not this thing where things always get better. Progress is there is an overcorrection, and there's a response to the overcorrection.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, in the context of Trump is his approach to dealing with the border, right? And this whole illegal migrants thing and criminals and people staying in the country, right? Yes, everybody should have a secure border. So he's achieved that, right? Good, great. Yes, you need to go chase all these criminals. Great, he's achieved that. Do you really now need to go and arrest people who are 20, 30 years in the country?
Yeah.
It's, yes, they've done something that's criminal, but they are part of your society, your community and your businesses. They work in your factories. They drive your economy. Do you really need to go and kick them out?
Yeah.
Maybe do a deal with them.
Yeah.
And you have your border secured, and you figure out how you deal with the people that are in here, right? That does not mean I'm endorsing mass migration or this and that, or I'm being too empathetic to these people. But what he's doing is he's playing to the media.
Yeah.
Right? For example, there'll be media stories coming out, and it says, "Oh, Trump has just done a raid of this factory." Then Trump will call his ICE agent guys and say, "Stop raiding these guys because you're screwing up my economic numbers.
Yeah.
Prices are going up because you guys are shutting down these businesses. So stop it. Go chase over there because Gavin Newsom is an awful guy and I want to attack him politically. So go do it in California and do it over here,
Yeah.
right? So now they're using politics to play with that because they have a lot of, leeway in public's perception. He can get away with it,
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I have I struggle to accept,
Yeah.
But that's the reality of politics. Is there's always an overcorrection. Someone comes and pulls it back this way, and then the next guys come, they pull it back that way. Labor is now, for instance, saying in New Zealand, if we get back in, we'll ban oil and gas. It's like, haven't you learned your lesson?
Yeah.
You want to ban it? That's cool, but what's the
alternative plan?
What's the alternative plan without like spiking the whole prices? And if you look into climate change and climate change has been dominated by wind and solar. Now both of these solutions are not driving any price down, drop down of the price and everything else. So your climate targets are not being met.
Yeah.
Right. And so nuclear energy is now coming in the conversation going, well, actually we can help. Right. Great. I personally love nuclear. Yes, there's a lot of negativity about what happened in Chernobyl and other places like the earthquake in Japan. But at the same time, you have these new SMR technology and fusion technology. OpenStar in Wellington is trying to figure out how to replicate sun.
Yeah.
And SMR technology, they come in the size of a container ship container, and it will just run for 8 years and 10 years and just generate energy.
It's pretty minimal waste these days, right?
It is very minimal waste.
And I think the only issue with New Zealand is we're such a volcanic country, they'd have to have really, if they're setting up anything big, they'd have to make sure that they have that covered, And I think, to be honest, I think we do that kind of stuff in a shoddy way in New Zealand. I don't think that's taken that seriously.
I don't think we'll see much of nuclear stuff happening for its volcanic. I think if it's fusion, that's different to fission.
Different, yeah.
And we'll see what OpenStar comes up with in Wellington. But around the world, especially like places like Russia and China and America, when they are fighting for this global dominance, which drives a lot of our pricing, nuclear seems to be where it's headed. Data centers, artificial intelligence, more information, more power. The demand for energy for the next 3 years is 3 times how much we consume today as a world.
Oh wow, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
It's like, well, who's supplying all of that stuff?
Yeah, well, didn't Luxon just announce that they're going to get an Amazon data center set up in New Zealand, which apparently eats a lot of power?
Yeah, it's I think it's a $7 billion project.
Yeah,
I think.
But if they do hit the grid, like we're already having brownouts and things in winter, so I don't see how that's going to suddenly change.
That's the problem with these things. They make these announcements, but they don't really give you information about, well, where are we supplying the power from?
Yeah.
And what's that going to cost? And who else is going to get impacted? And their approach is, these guys in the neighborhood are going to pay more in electricity prices by 30%, but they should take the hit because we're creating more jobs.
Yeah.
We're getting more tax revenue. So they're always screwing somebody else over.
That goes back to what you were saying before. It's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. It sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
But the reality is, for some people, it's not good at all.
No. And they don't get much attention. They don't get much. They did it with the vaccines. They told a lot of people during COVID-19, take this vaccine. It's safe for you. We need your help. We need to protect each other and save everybody else around us. So take the vaccine, right? Everybody took the vaccine. 90% of Kiwis took the vaccine, right? And then about 75,000 people turned back and said, "Well, I think I'm injured by this vaccine."
Yeah.
Right? The moment they used those words, they went, "No, fuck you. You're an awful person. There's no such thing as vaccines are safe. You have a problem and you need to piss off and we're not going to look after you." And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You asked for my help and I came and helped you. Now I don't feel that great about this and you don't want to look after me?
Yeah.
That's a very nasty, narcissistic way of behaving.
Oh, well, I think that whole, like you say, that kindness PR spin did not have that effect. Like, I saw it create a rift between friendships and relationships and families.
Yeah.
And none of that's talked about. And I think that was probably the most damaging aspect of that whole situation.
Yeah.
Was that it divided people so strongly.
Yeah.
And well, like, where's the kindness in that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
always, and I always have a little beef with New Zealand because I think that because we're an ex-nanny state, you know, we're a socialist state, like from history. I think this idea of like, we're doing it for your good, we're doing it for your safety. I don't, like, I'm an adult, I'm a grown man, I don't need a nanny, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can make my decisions right or wrong. And
Yeah.
so that whole health and safety mentality in this country
Yeah.
gets my goat big time because I just see it as a money spinner.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
almost like it's I think this whole kindness thing and what we experienced in the pandemic is very similar to what I've started watching a show called Pluribus.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've seen a few things about it.
Yeah, Pluribus. It's from the creators of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And it's a sci-fi drama. It's about scientists find this message 600 light years away from an alien planet, and they decode it. And they test it in rats, and this one of these rats bites a person. And essentially this code is, it's a virus in the form of happiness.
Right.
And it affects everybody in the world except for 11 people. And they're all connected to each other into a neural brain. And all they do is just kindness stuff.
Yeah.
There's no war. Everything is peace. Everybody gets along. But then it's a fight between that group of people and these individual humans with individual will.
Yeah.
Right? And you watch that, and there's only 3 episodes out. I think 4th one's coming out tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And you go, oh my God, this is exactly, you know,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? Because this is what happened.
Yeah.
But now the show is starting to show all the rifts that are going to happen between these people who seem to be kind to each other.
Right.
You know, because that's where you start to test it.
Yeah, well, I think that the trouble with that, like, overbearing kindness thing is that a lot of it's fake. You know, like a lot of it's chat and PR stuff, and because that's not how the real world works. You know? And so you can't get too caught up in this idea that we're all here to hug each other, because that's not how human beings work. You know?
And schools do it with kids, and it always annoys me. It's like, you know, don't tell my son he's great when he's actually not doing great. You need to actually find a different way to communicate with him and be honest with him.
Yeah.
And you got to find a balance between being tough, strict, and, you know, kind. We've gone away from me going to school and, you know, where smacking was a normal thing because it was like, you know, one way to get you straightened.
Yeah.
To now it's like, you know, everybody's great. Everybody gets a medal. Everybody's this. It's like, you know,
it's
and
like
a lot of my friends today say, oh my God, I wish my parents and my teachers were hard on me.
Yeah.
You know, and they feel that's kind of messed them up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well,
and we don't want that for the kids.
I think it's a misguided attempt at making, you know, all kids feel valuable or valued, you know, but it's a misguided thing because you still need discipline and you still need boundaries, and you need to be really clear about that, you know. And I think there is definitely an issue there, you know. So I don't really have too many qualms about calling a spade to kids that are misbehaving, you know, because you can't be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, makes other people feel bad. It's just like, this is not acceptable, you know, and be really straight up with it. Or you can do better than that, you know, like this work, this is not, you haven't put much effort into that, you know, and this is reflected in your grade.
Yeah, got to be honest.
Yeah, very much so, you know. But it's an institution, you know, like education is a big machine. So, you know, I think that the hope for me with education is that there's a lot of good people teaching, you know, and there's a lot of good parents and communities involved with their schools. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the key is, because, like, again, people down in government, none of those people are qualified educators or even have any experience in it. So you're best to go to your school and talk to the board or to the teachers and things like that, I think, rather than follow some central government, this is what we're doing now. Yeah. And there's been some changes recently in education, which I think are good, because we're getting back to old daily practice. Yeah. And for a while there, people would be, if you said that, people would think, oh no, rote learning, that's not learning. And it's like, no, it's not rote learning, it's daily practice. Like Jimi Hendrix did not get good at the guitar without practicing daily.
Yeah, 10,000 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so we've shifted away from when I came up into teaching, which was in the late 90s, there was these ideas about inquiry learning. Yeah. And so we're on a learning journey, you know, we're future-proofing ourselves and all of this kind of talk. And there
Yeah.
wasn't that daily regime of practice. And a lot of teachers are still, that's really boring. And it's like, practice is boring, but you've got to do it. Otherwise you won't get better. You know,
Yeah.
you can't do something once and be a genius
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, I have these very awkwardly humorous chats with teachers. You know, I'd sit down to them and they'd be like, "Oh, we got to do 1 hour of reading, writing, and maths." I'm like, 1 hour?
Yeah.
My kid is in the school for 6 hours. What are you doing for the rest of the time? Like, oh, we do arts and science and this and you know, like, okay, but where are all the Picassos?
Yeah, well, the core
know?
of all of those subjects
Yeah.
is literacy and maths, right?
Yeah.
So they're the basics of all of that stuff. And you can argue that, you know, arts and science and all of those, and sports and all of those things give people, like, you know, a broader horizons and things. But
Right.
when it comes to science and even arts, like literacy, like being articulate and
Yeah.
also having a mathematical brain they all feed into those subjects.
They do.
And once you get out of primary school and even high school and start going to uni, because I did a few science papers at uni,
Yeah.
it all becomes maths.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a good grounding in maths, you know, like, you've got to catch that all up
Yeah.
as an adult in your tertiary education. So I'm a big fan of the daily practice and routine. And personally, I think that works really well for our boys,
Yeah.
because from what I've seen, once young boys know what to do and what's expected, they're off. It's when
Yeah.
it's like, I don't really know what
Yeah.
I'm doing here, that
Yeah.
you start to lose kids and they start to not misbehave, but they start to just not be part of that process, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Are you familiar with Abigail Schreier?
No.
Yeah, I would highly recommend. She's I would say like a child psychologist,
Yeah.
and she does a lot of really good research around, especially in today's day and age, parenting, different styles of parenting. She'll sort of talk about liberal parenting and conservative parenting. One of the things that was really shocking to me to learn was that she talks about how teenage girls usually have, statistically speaking, higher anxiety and depression than boys, right? Then she found out through her research that boys that were raised in liberal household where they were just did whatever they wanted and they had all the choice, ended up having more anxiety and depression than girls in conservative household where they
Yeah.
knew what was expected, what to do, what not to do. And it's become so bad now that liberal parents send their girls in high school to therapy to learn how to make friends when they go to university,
Yeah.
because they have so much anxiety about it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How did we get to this?
It doesn't make sense, right? But
Yeah.
I think as well, like there's, you know, there's been a lot of support for girls in education for the last 30 or 40 years, going right back to the 80s. Girls can do anything and girl power, and it's been
Yeah.
a really good thing.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more and more women move into different career paths.
Yeah.
But for me, I haven't seen anything cohesive for our young men.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think
Yeah, masculinity has been attacked a lot. There's not a lot of
I think those are generalizations across the board, right? And I think,
Yeah.
but that's what you tend to pick up on the airwaves, is those sort of general attitudes.
yeah.
And I think that, I think young men are floundering a little bit because there doesn't seem, or maybe they don't feel that there's a clear direction for them as a man to
Yeah.
what they should be doing, or
I do feel it's changing. You know, there was like an article about this art teacher in Auckland, and he was like raising the alarm, saying there are all these young kids coming to school, and he calls them the Trump boys, and they're tough and they come around. And I'm reading at this, I'm going, that's exactly what I think young boys should be: confident, effective. They're showing their strength and they're being boys, right? And so a lot of these teachers have a problem with that, and they want to suppress it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard people say, they just want their son to engage with the curriculum, and it's
And
like,
all these young kids are listening to podcasts now.
yeah, and it's like, flip that round the other way. We should be shaping the curriculum to the students, not trying to shape the students to the curriculum. And I think you do get that same thing. Boys tend to be a little bit more active in the classroom and tend to be a little bit more push back on the boundaries,
Yeah.
and it's instantly labelled as disruptive, rather than trying to get to the root cause or trying to provide stuff. And I think, in my experience, I've found, give boys practical things to do with solid goals, and you don't have to do much else, because if they're into it, they'll be fully engaged in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's turning around. I'm hoping that it gets, better and better for boys to be, in their masculine energy. And going back to the whole woman thing and getting women to kind of, go for opportunities and wealth and jobs and careers. The counter to that thing is no one's having kids.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, so you're like, well, okay, if you're not having kids, then at some point this is all going to collapse, and then you're going to have to go get all these immigration
yeah,
thing going, and we're going to lose this whole Kiwi culture and identity and our protocol of who we are. So that's another problem. And in Hungary, what they're doing is they're saying to women is, if you have one child, we'll give you 25% off on your income tax for the rest of your life. If you have two, we'll give you 50%. If you have three, we'll give you 100%. And we'll also give a discount to your husband, so your household income is reduced.
yeah,
So please have more kids. Like in Western society, you just go back a few generations, we were having 7 kids a household.
yeah,
Now it's like 1.5 on average.
yeah.
You know,
And that's an issue in lots of countries around the world at the moment, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Like
huge.
populations
China
dropping.
messed up big time.
Yeah,
They did that whole one child thing, and I think they're gonna lose about 700 million people by 2050. I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah, I mean it's a big problem.
That's-
Japan is a big problem.
I've heard Germany as well is having an issue with population numbers dropping.
Yeah,
As
in
well.
Denmark they give you free holidays to go have babies, something
yeah.
like that. Something like that. It's
Sounds
funny.
good.
But yeah, I think that's also one of the problems. Is how do we get women to pursue? I have 2 daughters,
Yeah,
right? It's like cool. It's all about adventure, opportunity, wealth. I talk to them about everything, but I also talk to them about family and kids, and and when they're older, it's like how do you figure that out for yourself? And obviously you have choice, but it's also important to understand that if we're not having babies, where else is it coming from?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence? Are we
Yeah.
gonna just replace everybody into robots, and we're gonna be a fringe of a civilization? If that's what we choose to do, then
yeah, and it's a tricky one, I think, because modern lifestyle, especially in New Zealand, is very consumer based, right? And so
Yeah.
I guess for a lot of young people, they might not see, well, like, where do I go from here? If I haven't got an idea for a product or a business, like, what do I do? Like, I guess there's always going to be the service professions in New Zealand,
yeah,
but even that's not massively sustainable, because that's a tax funded, that's funded by taxes, and we're not a big country, so we're
Yeah.
already taxed to the nines, or anyway as it is.
yeah,
So they can't just keep adding taxes on it to sort of pay for everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what's happening in another 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing now everyone's really up in the arms about is immigration, right?
Yeah.
It's all these people coming into New Zealand, and
I thought they were all going to Australia.
yeah, there's a lot going in Australia. I think Pauline Hanson was wearing a burqa in the parliament. She's been suspended for doing that, and she's trying to raise. I think she has a good point. I think there's I have had the opportunity to talk to a lot of these Arabic Muslim women that have come to New Zealand as refugees, and and I've talked to a translator who works for Women's Refuge, and the stories that she's telling me, it's just like, man, this is awful.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these people come in, they're not compatible, they don't follow the law. Husbands and men and fathers still behave like they are the rulers
Yeah.
of the woman, and they force them into, and they're violating New Zealand laws. But for some reason, the Ministry of Ethnic Minorities protect them from doing that. They're like, oh, it's a sensitive thing, it's a cultural thing, we don't want to get involved. It's like, no.
Yeah.
We need to look after the rights, the human rights of these people first, then you get into the sensitive culture thing.
Yeah.
There are human rights, there are New Zealand laws, and then if you want, you can't be like, oh, we're not going to go into Gloria Vale because it's a sensitive cultural thing,
Yeah.
but we know that they're doing stuff in there that's violating people's rights,
Yeah.
but we're not going to go in.
Yeah.
That is a problem,
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to find the balance between, it's like, okay, you it's a cultural thing, you do your cultural thing, but you can't tell your woman to wear something.
Yeah.
She's an adult, and in New Zealand law, you can't
Yeah, that's not how we operate.
That's not how we operate. Australia, it's even worse because there are all these sort of mini cities where, I think there was a really cool video of this journalist from America. She goes and films in this sort of like Muslim community, and she starts getting chased by a police officer. And the police officer wants her to stop filming and get out of that area because it's not safe for her.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, this is not how this works. You should be protecting me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
walk on this public
Yeah.
street because it's my right to do so. You're doing the opposite.
Yeah.
So, what's gone into you? You're now part of this culture war
Yeah.
where you're enabling these people to get away with stuff that is actually not compatible with Western society, culture, rules, laws. And the problem with that is people are getting harmed in those sort of environments.
Yeah.
I'm sure people can make the opposite argument.
Yeah.
I don't think it's perfect.
No, well, I imagine it would be incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Right, managing that, and I think.
But if people are coming into New Zealand, like, when I came into New Zealand, I made a huge effort to be compatible.
Yeah.
The language and the friendships and the work and this and that, like you really integrate and you accept that New Zealand identity in some level.
Yeah.
Organically,
Yeah.
you find your feet, you find friends and blah, blah. But a lot of people don't. They still speak their native language. They hang out with the same people. And so if you do more of that and have less kids, less Kiwi kids, and
Yeah.
you do more of that, eventually you might as well just change the name.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It gets pretty tricky.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's the modern world, right? People travel and they've got opportunity to shift to different countries and new countries, and yeah, I mean I haven't travelled a lot, so New Zealand's pretty much the only place I've ever lived, and I've barely even been overseas, and so I haven't had much exposure to other cultures other than what's happening here in New Zealand, And I guess I'm pretty insular as well. Just living around Taranaki, like haven't really
It's
gone many
nice to
places.
be insular,
Yeah.
It's
when
really
you've got your
nice.
friends and family and you're
Shield
familiar with the
yourself
place.
from the nonsense.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's an interesting one with how all of the stuff that's going on in the world that become the theme of your song, I guess, going back to that, and how people kind of get sucked into understanding and making these ideas their ideas,
Yeah.
as reality.
Yeah.
And are you familiar with Gard Saad?
No.
He's an evolutionary psychologist, and he looks a lot into consumer behavior,
Yeah.
and he teaches a lot of that. He wrote a book called The Parasitic Mind, and he talks about how ideas are parasites.
Yeah.
They look amazing, but they're designed to be parasites to get into your mind and become real, and then you're controlled, and your behaviors and your votes are controlled through that idea.
Yeah.
Right? And so that book to me was quite a big awakening as to trying to understand what ideas are real, what are tested scientifically, physically, if you look something that Elon Musk is doing and he's flying a rocket, you can actually test that idea by seeing the rocket take off, land, and you go, okay, your idea sounds exciting, but it's actually real as well because I can see the proof.
Yeah.
And he comes up with these really cool ideas on how to protect your mind from these parasitic ideas. Now he's doing another book called Suicidal Empathy. It's like there's a fine line as to where empathy becomes suicidal.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out what that line is, whether it's educating kids or whether it's ideas, whether it's politics, whether it's music or whatever you're doing. And I think that's a very powerful concept for a lot of these people, going back to, the reaction to Pauline Hanson, for example. It's like, oh, suspended for 7 days and you are offending all these people. It's like, well, in free democracy, you can offend people.
Yeah.
That's your right. And it's okay to be offended because that's, you need to learn to regulate your emotion when you are, a good measure of free speech is I tell something about you that you don't like and you're okay with it.
Yeah,
you
well,
can shield yourself from it.
yeah, well, the danger of not doing that is that everyone falls into line around the same concepts without testing any of it, without pushing back a wee bit to see if it actually is robust and works.
Yeah.
Like I like John Lennon's take on it. Well, the revolution has to happen in your head. Like it's not going to happen anywhere else that's going to be effective. If you have a revolution, the regime that's removed will just be replaced with another one, really. And you might agree with the new one or you might agree with the old one, but the revolution has to happen in your head. And I think in the information age, one of the strongest things you can do is just tune out, decide what you want to have in your daily life and what you want to have occupying your mind and in your own day, and tune everything else out. Otherwise you end up not focused on the now. You're ending up on big issues that are happening somewhere else that don't even really have a massive impact on you. They may do through global economics and things like that, but I think that's a strong one.
I feel the best way that anyone can tune out is writing.
Yeah.
And it's chatting.
Yeah, and anything creative.
Yeah.
I think if you're, instead of consuming, because like for me it boils down to creation or destruction, right? And consuming is a form of destruction when you think about it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're creating, your energies are totally shifted into another place and you're making something. And that might just be for your own pleasure or your own, hobby filling in time, but it's still a really constructive way to do things. And it's like being in a drum circle. I don't do a lot of meditation or anything, but I did go along to a drum circle one day and then started getting into it. And I realized for about 10 minutes, I wasn't thinking about anything else except playing my drum in time with the rest of the circle, and it was like a form of meditation because my brain stopped working for a bit, and it was great. You know? So it's learning how to tune out the stuff that isn't good for you.
Yeah.
But creativity is a good one, I think.
Yeah, and deleting Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I've been through all that. I'm on Facebook quite a bit for the band, but I did a little experiment actually for about a month. I was engaging with other pages. And a lot of the comments I was making were pretty tongue-in-cheek and a bit satirical and taking the piss a wee bit, And that's when I experienced the fact that you can't get people on board. Like you might get some people on side, but the majority of people will still be anti what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so went back to just posting our content, and just if we've got some new content, we put that out. And it's rather than react to someone else's post and things like that, because I think that's how those whole social platforms operate.
Yeah,
they just want a knee-jerk reaction from you.
Yeah. And on Twitter, they incentivize you to reply,
right?
And you get more impressions, and then you get paid by just replying. You don't even have to create.
Yeah,
you can just reply.
Okay. Yeah,
and then you get a lot of response, and that sort of is such an interesting experiment of its own. How if you want to understand behaviors, you got to look at incentives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get a lot of answers very quickly.
Well, you also see, like I said all the time, like followed the odd page, on Facebook, and it starts out it's about bands or it's about covers bands or something like that, and then just slowly watching the content drift away from their original purpose to just the same muck that everyone else is pushing out, because clearly it gets a good response for the algorithms or gets a good response from people. And so they slowly move away from what they started being to just more of what everyone else is doing, and I think that's probably because it's monetized and they're making more money by posting these things that aren't to do with their original concept of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, my Twitter page is all of my original content, my podcast and my satire content. And it still gets less views than people who just post other people's content.
Yeah.
And I say, well, this doesn't make any sense.
No, I guess it's the machine.
Yeah.
It's just it feeds in on itself again and again. And so, I just try and post what we're up to. Occasionally I'll put a social or political comment in there, but it's pretty watered down, you know, because it's not aimed to try and fire people up or get a real response. It's usually just an observation. And then I usually do a slightly comical or, humorous attempt at highlighting the issue without picking sides, kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you, are you aware of the Chimp Chronicles?
That rings a bell. I haven't.
It's my satire site.
Oh, okay.
That's where I do a lot of my satire for current affairs.
Right.
So chimchronicles.com.
Okay.
So you can read that if you're into satire.
Yeah, have a look.
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
send you a link.
I think you might have mentioned it at the last podcast that we did with you.
So that's where I do a little bit of Kiwi stuff,
Yeah.
a little bit of politics. Politics is the one that gets a lot of attention.
I bet.
That's just how the algorithm is. So we have to do politics.
Yeah.
But we do lots of other stuff as well.
Yeah, that's
Chim
cool.
Chronicles. It's satire is fun. It's
Yeah.
very healing. It's a nice way to engage with the craziness because you're not getting involved in the whole intense. This is my view, you know.
Yeah.
You're just taking the piss.
Yeah, and you
know?
can still raise relevant issues that way.
Yeah.
But it deflects, because it is a slightly humorous or satirical spin on things, it deflects a lot of the intensity, I think,
Yeah.
that might be coming at you otherwise.
And I think comedy has got to a point where it is the only thing in the world that is the closest to the truth.
Yeah, I think so too.
I feel like comedy is the only thing that we have left. I'm not that, music might be the another one, but I'm not an expert into music, so I can't analyze it that way. But for me, with comedy, even podcasts are getting diluted now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of podcasts that are actually true. But I feel like comedy is the only way that you can really get closer to the truth, to what's actually happening through humor.
Well, I think that's because people let it in.
Yeah.
They're willing to let comedy in, even if it is politically, based,
Yeah.
because they're not as threatened by just having someone wag their finger at them and say, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it was John Lennon or someone else, but saying something along those lines of like, when it comes to the establishment, like humor is the one thing they can't handle.
Yeah.
They'll crack you over the head if you turn up and protest, but if you're making fun of it, they don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, a friend of mine had a really nice way of putting the same thing in different words, and he said that comedy is the last line of defense.
Yeah.
If they're going after comedy, that's like a red flag. You know that they're going for it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the moment they start to make comedy a hate crime. In the UK, for example, the government's got involved and the police has got involved in this whole culture war thing. And so 15,000 people this year has been arrested for social media posts in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
I'm pretty sure it's like 7,000, 15,000. It's thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's probably the most accurate thing to say. But it's like, what?
Mm.
You're removing real criminals out of the cells to make room for, an old man reposting something that you think is a hate crime. Say, what? You can't post a meme. You can't be satirical. You can't use humor.
Yeah, that's a bit scary, eh?
And it happens in New Zealand. It happens in Australia. It happens everywhere, A friend of mine was traveling into the US legally, and he got to the airport, and ICE agents said, give me your phone, unlock your phone. They went through his photos. They found a meme mocking Trump, and they looked at his tweets. They found him criticizing Trump. They're like, okay, you're out. You're not coming in. It's like, what?
That's nuts, eh?
Yeah, it's happening a lot.
Well, especially in America, when traditionally they've been all about free speech.
Yeah. So as much as you see the front of, that these are free countries, but what's happening behind the scenes, they're actually not free anymore.
No, it's starting to get a little bit scary when they're censoring just people's chat. Yeah, that is a red flag. I think that's a concern.
Jacinda was the main driver of all of the censorship, and a lot of people actually don't talk about her role in it.
Yeah.
What she did was she used Christchurch mosque attacks to create this thing called the Christchurch Call. And about 215 countries immediately signed up to it. And the whole idea was to get social media platforms and algorithms to censor people. With this idea that they're spreading harmful things. So, for example, during COVID-19, a lot of scientists got kicked out of Twitter because they said, oh, this vaccine is not the right thing, or the virus approach is off, right? So, well, these are qualified scientists. They work, in very highly regarded environments. How can you censor them, right? And she was the one who was behind this whole hate crime thing movement, and it took off like wildfire. But no one ever talks about her role in it. Yeah, and that's why Elon ended up paying $44 billion for Twitter to grab it and turn it around and push the needle a little bit on this side. Yeah, it's like, say whatever you want to say. And in Australia, they have this thing called the e-safety commissioner. It was started by this lady, Julie M. Grant, and she used to work at Twitter, and Elon fired her. So when she ended up in Australia and this whole government thing, she went after Twitter very hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there was, they'll make all these ludicrous demands. Like there's some content of like a murder that happened, and it's on Twitter, and she would say, if you don't block Australians from looking at that content, then we're gonna fine you this much a day.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I mean it's
So it's like an idea that people can control other people's thinking, and it's a little bit like back in the 80s when rock bands got taken to court by, I think it was the Parental Committee of Concerned Parents or something, about explicit lyrics and what songs were about. Same kind of thing. And they're like, oh, if kids hear this, then they'll do it. And it's the same kind of thing about violence on TV, incites violence in real life. And it's kind of been shown that's not a thing.
yeah.
But it's always, it's this idea that, oh, we know what's good for you to consume, and so we're going to say you can't have that because we think it's bad for you. And it's like, well, again, I'm an adult. I'm a grown man. I don't need a nanny to tell me what I can and can't watch on TV.
Yeah.
I'll make that decision myself.
Yeah, and now they're doing this whole thing with social media for kids. Australia is going to kick in on December the 10th. New Zealand's already pushing for banning social media for kids. I mean, I agree. I don't think kids should be on social media until they turn 16, but let the parents deal with it.
Yeah.
You don't need a government to actually go and get everybody to verify their age,
Yeah.
right? And then you're essentially monitoring the entire country, and you're using that to kind of say, well, we're doing it for the kids.
Yeah.
Just let the parents deal with it and give parents better tools and education to learn how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I think, I'm always suspicious of someone I don't know telling me they're doing something for my own good.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
okay, so where's that coming from then? You care about me that much, but you don't know me.
Yeah. And the problem is they will have all these lobbyists that go into school and get parents to come into these talks, and then start to show all the dangers of social media to the parents. And instead of giving the parents the tools to deal with it, they say we should all vote for banning social media.
Yeah.
So they're there for a purpose. And I have a real issue with that, because I feel like schools are not a place where you start to kind of manipulate parents.
Yeah.
Schools should be a place where kids go and study, and that's it. The moment I see schools starting to do all these things that are very politically charged, I think it's like a red flag.
Yeah, well, I think, because I think sadly, traditionally, that's the education institution in New Zealand, is that there is an idea from the political perspective of this is one way that we can start to guide society the way we think it should go or the way we want it to go. And I think probably in general, like politicians are a little bit scared of anybody that thinks differently.
Yeah,
because it's a potential threat, I guess, to their what they think should be.
Yeah, it just erodes the whole parent, the role of a parent, the role of a father. And we talked about this young boys and raising them the right way. It's, if you outsource everything to a government, what is left of your individual will and your masculine self and your feminine self, and what are you doing to kind of raise kids and the rules you set and, all that stuff. You're just outsourcing that.
Yeah.
And if, if a son realizes that the father is not in control, the government is, and he can just lie in the internet and say he's above 18, above 16, and goes on social media. And when the dad walks in and says, what are you doing? You can't do that. I'm going to call the government. I'm going to call the cops. But it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No. No.
And by the way, kids can't go on social media, but they can watch porn.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
that's a great idea, isn't it?
It's not really fixing. It's like a kind of a half measure fix. You know, it's like we can feel good about this because we've made an effort to help, but I don't think that's helping. It's not accepting the fact that we are already balls deep in the internet and information age, and instead of accepting it, they're like, well, we need to block this part of it. We need to stop people having access to it, which is not the way forward because it's there, and at some point they will leave home, and even if they haven't been able to access it at home, they'll access it when they're older, and then they may not have the tools to manage it themselves. And that's when you might get addictions coming in, and they can't stop being on social media, or they can't stop watching porn, or they can't whatever, because you need to get them to think about it and then think for themselves, which is a really tricky one. I think you have to have a well-built bullshit detector, and you have to be a little bit skeptical about things in order to think for yourself. You just can't swallow everything hook, line, and sinker without questioning it at some point. Otherwise, you're not really thinking.
Yeah, and I think in 5-6 years' time, they're going to start banning AI.
You reckon? Yeah.
I think it's going to get to a point where they'll start to just ban it because they'll believe that AI is actually bad for you.
Yeah.
In 6 years' time, we're not going to have iPhones the way iPhones work with apps on your phone.
Yeah.
It will come with a screen, and it will come with AI. And the AI will do everything for you. So I won't be able to text Scotty with my own thumbs and type words. I'd basically ask AI to do it, and the AI is typing the words to you.
Yeah.
So it's just taking what I want him to do, and then I'll be saying, well, be nice to him, or smile to him, or be aggressive, be assertive. And, the AI is coming up with the words. So the human to human thing is gone.
Yeah.
It's all AI that's kind of coming up with it, And people would consume podcasts like that. A lot of people consume podcasts now with transcribed script, and they'll go in it and say, highlight, show me the part where he talks about Trump. Does he talk about Trump? Great. I just want to listen to that bit.
Yeah.
And what is he saying? And then the AI is actually, doing the thinking and giving a blurb out instead of someone listening to me directly to my words.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to get to that point. And at some point, the government will be like, "Ooh, that's dangerous. That's worse than social media.
Yeah.
Let's ban it."
Yeah. Well, that's their response to everything.
Instead of, getting used to it and understanding it and regulating yourself. And
just explaining to people that you have to understand, like, there's a translation happening here, and it's not a human translation between languages. It's like a human technology translation.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be careful that, because even when you understand each other's language, there's so much nuance in words and language that you can still misconstrue someone's meaning, right? So once you run that through a technological filter, it's going to be worse.
Yeah. Have you seen these AI music videos?
Yeah, I've seen
They are freaky, man.
Yeah.
It's like 50 Cent, a song would be redone by AI with the 1950s music.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
It's insane, right? Like,
it's amazing.
And you would sit a lot of people down now, and they won't be able to tell the difference between an AI song and the actual original artist. You know, like, it is quite incredible.
It's like, wow. And there are these AI agencies that are creating fake people as actresses.
Yeah.
That have a huge following on social media, and they are getting jobs to be in movies, in these AI movies.
Nuts, eh?
Yeah. And it's like, what? It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because we've seen a bit of AI music, the sites where you can make it. And I've done a little bit of at school with the kids, like, this is a pretty cool little tool, we can throw the words in and tell it to be a pop song or a quirky pop song or a heavy rock song. And out it comes, and it sounds like a human voice, and the music sounds good, But for me, and I get it, that's fine. And if you've got a company that uses music, it's a much cheaper way to get what you want, rather than employ musicians to record it and all of that kind of thing. But for me as a musician, like, the whole point of the process is sitting down to write. It's like you say about, like, being creative and writing is a really good way to tune out from the rubbish. That's exactly what that creative process is for me, is that I just tune out of everything else and I'm focused on that. And so to lose that process, to just be able to say, I want a song that sounds like this, like, it's taking away everything. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and a lot of the music softwares now are coming with AI.
Yeah, yeah.
So in, like, Ableton and all these softwares, AI is doing a lot of the stuff. So you're tuning out from that creative process. Same with writing. And I've got to a point, my writing now is like, I don't want to do anything with AI. I just want to write myself.
Yeah.
You know? And AI is really good with if you want some structure, or if you want to know exactly how much is a 1 minute sketch
Yeah.
for a YouTube video or for a film or for an episode of a TV show, it will give you that structure, but then you got to fill it up with
Yeah.
human words.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think there's definitely advantages to it because it does make some things more efficient.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always going to be something that people are interested in. But I think, I'd love to start collecting some old analog gear,
Yeah.
so that when it is all fully AI'd, you've still got that ability to have that process without it interfering in any stage,
Yeah.
unless you want it to.
Yeah, there's some really good analog gears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because you look back and everyone's like, well, these CDs and CD players are so much better than tape, and they were so much better than vinyl, and they're not really. They're just a different format, and so you end up realizing a lot of that old gear, analog gear, is actually much higher quality because it was even before digital, and so digital is just an emulation of actual analog, right? So it's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
And then so you just realize that, well, it wasn't better, it was just more convenient. Really, CDs were just more convenient. Mine haven't lasted forever.
Yeah.
Mine have got scratches and they've got that CD rot, so they just skip and stuff. And we got told that they were going to last 1,000 years.
Wow.
Back in the day, that was just PR spin, I
Yeah.
guess. But I don't know about tapes, but definitely vinyl.
Do you have cassettes?
I've got cassettes, and I've got an old record player that has a cassette player in it. But to be honest, most of them are kind of warped sounding because they've been in the heat or the sun, or
Yeah.
and it's magnetic, so that I don't think it's particularly good unless you've got them in like a temperature controlled vault and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, vinyl's fun, and I think that there's still something there about the actual physical sound of grooves and a needle just amplifying
Yeah.
the bumps,
Yeah, I think that's what I think we're going to end up having, is that the internet becomes AI and a lot of people would just go back to analog.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we're going to end up, is like, that we're not going to have apps like Spotify because the AI on your phone will just create an album for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Just straight up. And you're like, whoa, it's like, create a new Kanye West album for me, and it will do it.
Yeah.
That's how freaky it's going to get,
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, I love the Beatles album. Can you redo it for me in this way?
Yeah.
Because I want the Oasis drums and I want a little bit of that, a little bit of the slacks, and it will do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so the only way you can get away from that is go analog.
Yeah.
And have like a vinyl player and be like, oh man.
Totally. And do it yourself, like that's the other thing as well. And that's why I think live music is still going to have its place for a long time.
Yeah.
Because that's still that refuge, when you've got an audience in front of a band or a band in front of an audience, then it's something that doesn't really happen that often anywhere else. And it might not be a band, it might be like a live speaker or a comedian.
Yeah.
But the interaction between a live audience and a performer doesn't happen really anywhere else. The responses are instantaneous.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad show, like if you're not playing well, you instantly get the vibe off the audience. They know that, and then vice versa. If it's going really well, you instantly get that response as well from the audience, and then it just starts to build on itself.
Yeah.
Everything so much now is separated with a screen.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to get that immediate response.
Yeah, live, you just have no latency between human to human.
Yeah,
you just get it. It's
Yeah.
like when I'm doing a virtual podcast, there's just latency.
Yeah.
In reactions, responses. Face to face is different.
Yeah.
And we're capturing it with voice that is just instant as well.
Yeah.
There's no delay. So when someone watches it, the closest you can get to like a real life experience, right? And it's very hard to replicate that, the human to human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Responses.
Just all the nuance that happens in body language and voice tone and all of those things that just get wiped out by a screen or get wiped out by a piece of technology where you're like texting, for example.
Yeah.
Where people can read a straightforward text multiple ways.
Yeah.
And then they actually come back at you and go, are you being funny or are you being serious? And it's like, I forgot to do the smiley emoji. So I was being funny. But for a moment, they take it as something serious or an insult, And
one thing I read a lot about text messages online is how a lot of people who have like ex partners and they do like co-parenting, for example, right? A lot of these guys are now using Chat GPT to do the texting.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like there's a lot of jokes about it online. How a lot of these women are like, oh, my ex is using Chat GPT to text me, and now these people know that it's actually not him.
Yeah.
He's using Chat GPT. But it's if you think about it, it's a smart way to kind of be like, oh, I'm very emotional. I don't want to type this. Here's the text. Can you retype it for me?
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
want to copy paste this. This is gonna save me some lawyers.
Yeah. Well, that's right. But just that idea that even a straightforward conversation can be misinterpreted by different people in that conversation, even face to face. Adding more layers in, I don't think that's going to improve anything. Like I don't know, but like I think you're right. That, like if you're angrily texting your ex about something, and in the back of your mind this is not actually going to be productive, then maybe it's not a bad idea to get ChatGPT to just soften that a little bit. I don't know.
Or just be like me, just don't text anybody.
Yeah.
Like don't if you don't want to be with someone, why do you need to have a relationship? You know? Just don't.
That's it. And best thing you can do halfway through the text is just delete it and put the phone down.
Just do something else.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, man. I enjoy this. I haven't done it very often, and it's good to just
Do you
chat.
do much podcasts?
No, I've done a couple. I did one with Juliet McLean. She did a very, I think it's 6 episodes called Talk Box Sessions, just talking to songwriters about the songwriting process.
Yeah, she's the daughter of, what's his name? Chris McLean.
Chris, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
an
artist.
Yeah, and she's a very good musician in her own right. And I found her to be really good. I guess because she's a songwriter, so she has a bit of an insight into questions and like what you want to talk about. And we waffled about a lot of stuff, but we did it at Sam's studio as well, so I was really comfortable there.
Cool.
And it was just good having that, sitting down and thinking, what do I actually do when I write a song, and why do I do it, and how do I do it? And I couldn't really articulate that much. I've got my process, but it's not really like a step-by-step sort of thing. It's sort of a bit wishy-washy.
Yeah, and a lot of it is sort of kind of like, Mark talked about it, it's the muse. It's like something that's higher to yourself that comes in and guides you.
I'll wait until I get that, generally, because I won't sit down and pump out songs because I find it, I'm never really that happy with the results. Whereas if I suddenly I hear something, like I remember friends lived in a street in Auckland called Mercury Lane.
Yeah.
And when they moved in there, I was talking to one of them on the phone. He said, "Yeah, we just got a flat at Mercury Lane." I was like, "Oh my God, that's a song title right there, like Penny Lane and like Mercury." And so that was enough to spark off a song. And then I can remember sitting down thinking, I was listening to a lot of the Kinks. So I was like, I'm going to try and borrow a few of those chords and try and make it sound like the Kinks. And that was that process. But more and more, the older you get, the less that hits you. So you find you deliberately sit down to have a go at something. And luckily I wrote lots when I was younger, and so I've got screeds of notes that are unfinished and maybe just 1 or 2 words or a sentence, and so I can go through that, and that can sometimes happen, and it's like, that was quite good, why did I leave that alone? I've got something for that now.
And she's still doing this podcast?
I think she's going to do another series. I think she only did 6, but I think she's aiming to do some more. I thought it was quite a bit of fun. And then the last one with you, with me, Mark and Blakey.
That was 6 hours long, man.
It was really long. It was a great night, man.
It was great. Fun. Yeah. It's nice to do those long podcasts because you kind of, I feel like, in 20, 30 years, those kind of content, they're just, they're timeless.
Yeah.
There's like a vault. And if you ever want to go back, listen to someone about an album they did, well, there's 6 hours of it. Go for it,
Yeah, that's the appeal of podcasting, is that you get into detail and depth that you often don't get from shorter formats of media, like sound bites and things like that. Yeah, and it's funny because you don't think, there'll be people that'll be really into that, but then I have met people that are fans of the Slacks. Yeah. It's like, they probably would actually sit and listen to that for a couple of hours if they're pottering around at home. Yeah.
I was quite surprised because we just got it on YouTube. The podcast has been on X for 2 years, and we just did a partnership with Libsyn, and it's a distribution platform, and it's sending it out on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, everything else. So we're getting all these new fans coming in.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we decided to go on YouTube. We tried YouTube when we started. I think YouTube was very censorship type, and they wouldn't let some of our episodes in. So we thought, we'll leave it. But now I think they've opened up a lot. So okay. And then a couple of weeks ago, we're like, okay, let's just put it on YouTube. And we got 12,000 views.
No, that's not bad, eh?
On the Slacks, I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that was all around New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool way to kind of get people to listen to artists that they follow, but also new fans to go, oh, the Slacks, I've heard about them, or who are they? Or this is actually really cool. You know? And that leads them to the album, the music.
Yeah.
And for most, it's just the conversation they enjoy listening to, Such a cool way to kind of get to know someone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Marky said, like, he had, because we've never really ever done covers by U2. I always felt that, because when I encountered them, like listening to their music, I always thought, it's just a little bit cheesy maybe. I don't know what it was. But then Marky had to listen to Bono having a chat to someone on a podcast, and he's like, I've totally changed my mind about him. Like, my image of him, or his public image, my impression of his public image was actually really different from the guy he seems to be.
Yeah. I've met people who've never listened to podcasts, and I've met the same people after a few months, and they listen to podcasts, and they are totally different people.
Yeah.
Their perspectives have changed, the reality, the way they look at people have changed, the way they look at me has changed, because it just opens up the brain in a way that in this world of constant just going on social media and consuming movies and YouTube and this and that, podcast seems to be the one that is closest to the physical world that we engage in.
Yeah.
The analog world, the way we talk to our friends and our family, the way we have debates, the way we look for information, the way we have social conversations over dinner. It's all in the podcasts. So if you really want to hang out with the Beatles, you go listen to a podcast, and it almost kind of creates this sort of like a friend simulation thing in your mind. You feel like you're in the room with them and you're all having the same chat, but you're not there. You're just listening to the podcast. But for some reason, podcast just creates that simulation, that kind of like a virtual reality in your mind, that you feel like, I know him more now. I understand, what his morning routines are, or what makes him tick, or what doesn't make him tick, or the things he does behind the scenes, or the stories that you don't hear about backstage, and his struggles, or his personal stories, or whatever new he's doing. It just fills up more of this puzzle image we have about a person in our mind,
And I think that's the long play format of podcasts that allow that, because it's not just a quick soundbite, or it's not just a 2-second flick past content on social media. You're actually getting engaged and listening, and when you do that, I think then you probably are a bit more open to different ideas or opinions.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-help podcasts, like the Diary of a CEO.
Yeah,
like everybody watches that, and I'm like, I'm gonna stay away from this, because it's always like, what are the 5 things you've learned about doing this? And so I don't want self-help. I just want to listen to 2 people talk about whatever that goes, And that's why I've kind of kept my podcast in that sort of fashion. Just, come in and we'll just talk.
Have a chat, yeah.
And, and the idea is we capture you in the moment today. How you're feeling, what your mood is, whatever the day's doing, whether there's big events, or no big events, or little bits that influence you, or it might be, you CDs in your car might be driving your mood, but you capture that, and people be like, oh, that's Scotty this day.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Now, so I'll put that image in my mind. So when I see Scotty next time, I've filled more about him in my mind, and I think people enjoy that in today's day and age for many, many reasons. And it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's, where else do you go to watch, get information? Wikipedia is rigged.
Yeah.
Wikipedia's AI is rigged, because what AI is really doing, it's learning from what people are putting on the internet. So the more groups fight with their idea, the AI goes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
AI can be so bad that you can ask the AI, is it dangerous to start a nuclear war or misgender Caitlyn Jenner? It
Yeah.
will say misgender Caitlyn Jenner. Please don't do that. You can start a nuclear war if you like.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So the moment that the AI is in control of the nuclear code,
Yeah,
then
Yeah.
we are fucked.
we'd be in trouble.
And so podcast seems to be one of those things that's still holding that true conversations we are having online.
Yeah.
So you can go listen to it as long as the AI is not fucking with it, the algorithm's not
Yeah,
hiding
well,
it,
you're probably right, because you might not be engaged in the conversation when you're listening, but it's a conversation between people that's happening,
yeah
rather than, because it's not if you consume content from Facebook, that's not a conversation at all.
yeah
It's just purely passively consuming something.
yes
But if you're listening to 2 or 3 humans going backwards and forwards with each other, then that's a conversation.
yeah
And I think that's probably a huge part of the appeal as well.
yeah and you can just put it on when you're driving for
Yeah.
3 hours, or
Yeah.
you're in the garden,
Yep, doing
or if you
housework or
work
mowing
on the
lawns.
field, you pick apples, or you work in a winery or something.
Yeah,
You can just get in under the sun and you can just listen.
yeah, it's great too, eh? Like,
And it's
especially if you've
almost
got
like you have company,
yeah,
Yeah.
and it engages you. Like if your brain's in a good space, doesn't matter what you're doing, you're in a good space too.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Hey, well, thanks.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find your music. The Slacks.
The Slacks Bandcamp, the Slacks.bandcamp. We've got a website that's down at the moment because it's been a pretty lean year, but I'm
Yeah.
hopefully getting that up and running again in the next month or so.
Yeah.
And that's where all our content was. But Bandcamp, you can get all of our music. You can get most of our music on Spotify. YouTube's got everything.
Yeah.
And there's Apple Music as well. And there's probably, those probably feed out to other smaller platforms as well. So
Yeah.
you just do the typing and you'll find it. But
Yeah.
Bandcamp's got everything.
Yeah. And your concert as well is on the Bandcamp?
No. Like the events that we're doing will be on Facebook.
Okay.
But like I say, I'll get the website up and running, which is theslacks.nz, and that's got everything there. It's got events and the music and the videos and a little bit of news.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
And what's your Facebook username? Or
The Slacks NZ.
The Slacks NZ.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Pretty
thanks for
much.
coming in, man.
Hey, geez,
It's been awesome, and I'll
Yeah.
see you around at the concerts this summer.
Magic.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, man.